Israeli strikes across Syria, targeting remaining assets of Assad's army and preventing them from reaching terror groups in Syria. Meanwhile, the cabinet has unanimously voted to approve 40 million shekels to settle and double the population of the Golan Heights. About 50,000 Jews and Druze currently live on the Israeli Golan. They were not evacuated during the 13-month-long cross-border war with Hezbollah. They were frequently targeted by rocket and UAV fire, with losses sustained. After the fall of the al-Assad government, the IDF sent troops into the Syrian side of the Golan. The army has been ordered to dig in for the winter. Israel is occupying a number of Druze villages on the Syrian Golan, and leadership have reportedly appealed to Israel and asked to be annexed for their safety.
And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Sunday night that he held a warm and very important conversation with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump about a range of issues, including the Iranian threat, developments in Syria, and a recent push to secure the release of the hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. The details in the following report.
אני אומר לחיזבאללה ולאיראן בצורה שאינה משתמעת לשני פנים, כדי למנוע מכם לפגוע בנו, אנחנו נמשיך לפעול נגדכם ככל שנדרש, בכל זירה ובכל זמן.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sent a direct message to the Islamic Republic of Iran in a pre-recorded address Sunday night, in which he outlined Israel's strategy in the region. The Prime Minister said that today Israel is working forcefully in order to have security and stability on all its borders.
אין לנו עניין להתעמת עם סוריה. אנחנו נקבע את מדיניות ישראל כלפי סוריה לפי המציאות המתהווה בשטח. אני מזכיר שבמשך עשרות שנים סוריה הייתה מדינת אויב אקטיבית לישראל. היא תקפה אותנו שוב ושוב, היא אפשרה לאחרים לתקוף אותנו משטחה, היא אפשרה לאיראן לחמש את חיזבאללה דרך שטחה. כדי להבטיח שמה שהיה לא יהיה יותר, אנחנו נקטנו בשורה של פעולות עצימות בימים האחרונים. יחד עם שר הביטחון כץ, אני הנחיתי את צה"ל לסכל את האיומים הפוטנציאליים בסוריה, ולמנוע השתלטות של גורמי טרור סמוך לגבולנו.
Netanyahu stressed that over the course of a few days, Israel destroyed the Assad regime's remaining military capabilities, as well as weapons supply routes through Syria to Hezbollah in Lebanon, adding that this was an additional testimony to the severe blow dealt to the entire Iranian axis.
על כל זה שוחחתי אמש, שוב עם ידידי נשיא ארצות הברית הנבחר, דונלד טראמפ. זו הייתה שיחה מאוד ידידותית, מאוד חמה ומאוד חשובה. דיברנו על הצורך להשלים את ניצחון ישראל, ודיברנו ארוכות גם על המאמצים שאנחנו עושים לשחרור חטופינו. אנחנו ממשיכים כל הזמן לפעול ללא לאות להשבתם הביתה של חטופינו, החיים והחללים כאחד.
According to Hebrew language media, the prime minister is said to have asked Trump to pressure negotiators to agree to release a higher number of hostages in any forthcoming deal. Currently, reports indicate that negotiations are ongoing, but talks are hung up over the number of hostages to be released. The prime minister said in his address that the less he discusses this issue, the better, adding that with God's help, all the hostages will return home. And joining us now with more on the IDF strikes in Syria and more is Brigadier General Yossi Kuperwasser. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So what are the immediate threats to Israeli security from this sort of evolving situation inside Syria, which has prompted the IDF to act so forcefully overnight?
I don't think that there are immediate threats. The Syrian new regime is busy consolidating the situation in Syria and making sure that it is in control of the entire country, which is not the case yet, and forming this new state that has to be built on some sort of an agreement between the different factions that make the new government. So this is the main topic they are concerned with. They are not looking for confrontation with Israel at this point. But we know who they are. We know that many of them are jihadi organizations, and we don't want to see them holding in their possession very advanced weaponry that Assad army used to have. So we have to take very fast the necessary activities to make sure that they don't hold these weapons in their possession.
And, there are signs that Russia is leaving Syria. Iran and Hezbollah have been forced out. How will this sort of new power vacuum be filled, and what would be in Israel's best interest?
Well, in Israel's best interest would be that the new government in Syria will be interested in having good neighborly relations with Israel, and that will extend the hand for peace, as Prime Minister Netanyahu said. If they do, we shall respond with the same attitude. But we have to realize that so far there are not enough signs that this is going to be the case. Yes, Giuliani is trying to speak softly and moderately, and it's good that he tries to do that. But remembering his past, it means more in order to prove that this is really the new Giuliani. And we hear what some of his supporters are saying, that the next step is the Jews, and that the people in Gaza should wait for them and show patience and so on and so forth. We hear that too, and we know what he was saying when he was still a member of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. So we have to be very cautious about where this is going. On top of that, the problem is that the foreign forces that are standing behind the Syrian new regime are the Muslim Brotherhood, in the form of Turkey and Qatar. And we have little trust in the Muslim Brotherhood. And not only we, but all the relatively pragmatic and moderate elements in the Arab world, they have a similar attitude to the Muslim Brotherhood. They are not sure that they can be trusted. And as a matter of fact, I would even say that some factions within the Syrian opposition that now turned to be the Syrian regime are much more moderate than Giuliani and his people, but they are not seen in ceremonies and celebrations that are taking place all over Syria.
And, we mentioned Turkey, we mentioned Qatar. How significant is the coordination between Israel and the U.S., as well as other regional players such as Jordan, for example, when it comes to Israel's actions in Syria?
It is important to know that especially the Americans understand why we are doing what we are doing. And they show some sort of understanding. As a matter of fact, even Giuliani himself showed some sort of understanding. He said, okay, enough is enough. You did what you have to do, but you don't have to continue doing it. So in a way, he accepted the logic behind what we did. But the cooperation with Jordan is mainly important in order to make sure that the Jordanians feel secure enough, since the strengthening of the Muslim Brotherhood on their northern border is a source of concern for them, having a strong opposition of Muslim Brotherhood inside Jordan. So they need the American support and the Israeli support, and the Israeli open ears to make sure that if they have anything to be worried about, we can help them take care of that.
Well, a rapidly evolving situation in Syria and Israel, not taking any chances. Brigadier General Yossi Kuperwasser, thank you so much for your analysis today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
And turning to Israel's multi-front war, it's day 437 in the war in Gaza, and the IDF confronted Hamas efforts to regroup. In Lebanon, the ceasefire is still holding, with Lebanese army troops deploying to the south and is reportedly searching for Hezbollah weapons. ILTV's Steve Leibovitz has more.
3 weeks into the ceasefire, the Lebanese army has slowly been deploying troops to the south. The Lebanese army has reportedly launched its own operations to find Hezbollah weapons, including rockets and launchers near the Litani and Saluki rivers. The U.S.-led international commission assembled to monitor the situation on the ground has also begun work, but it's in its early stages. The IDF continues operating in areas closest to the border and plans to remain there until the scheduled completion of the withdrawal 4 weeks from now. The army is continuing operations to destroy Hezbollah assets and confiscate weapons. The army said it will continue to exercise its right to attack any violation of the ceasefire. It's day 437 of the war in Gaza. The Air Force conducted a precise strike on Hamas terrorists operating out of a former UNRWA school. The Ahmed Abdulaziz School in the Khan Yunis humanitarian zone was set up by Hamas as a command center and staging base for terror activities against IDF troops and Israeli civilians. At least 20 combatants were believed to have been killed in the attack. The IDF also hit a terrorist meeting point in the Beit Hanun area. The attack resulted in the killing of a dozen terrorists and the surrender of additional suspects. In Beit Lahia, the IDF located and dismantled a weapons cache. The army announced that an Al Jazeera cameraman killed in Gaza was also a terrorist in the Islamic Jihad. Ahmed Alou was killed during a drone strike on an Islamic Jihad command center in Nusirat.
Journalist/terrorist. And moving on, with an increasingly anti-Israel policy in Ireland, Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar has announced Israel will be closing its embassy in Dublin. ILTV's Ariella Lachiani is in Tel Aviv now with more details on this. Ariella, what can you tell us?
Yes, thank you, Ludar. So in a significant diplomatic move, Israel has announced it will be closing its embassy in Dublin due to Ireland's increasing anti-Israel policies. Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar cited Ireland's decision to support South Africa in its genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, and he's labelled this a breaking point, accusing Ireland of delegitimization and demonization of the Jewish state. And whilst he's labelled this a breaking point, this decision does also come after repeated diplomatic clashes between the two countries, including Ireland's decision to recognise a Palestinian state in May, and also increased anti-Semitic incidents in Irish schools. Now, whilst Ireland will be maintaining its embassy here in Tel Aviv, and Ireland's Prime Minister has also denied any anti-Israel bias, the closure of the embassy does definitely reflect a sharp downturn in relations of the two nations.
And so is the foreign minister making any other diplomatic moves, maybe even some positive ones?
Right, so while the Dublin embassy will be closing, Gideon Sa'ar announced that a new embassy will be opening in Moldova. Countries like the United Arab Emirates, India, and also several Eastern European countries are strengthening their ties with Israel. Hungary and the Czech Republic have consistently backed Israel on an international stage. And of course, the Abraham Accords have boosted ties significantly with Arab countries, leading to increased tourism, trade, and security cooperation.
All right, thank you, Ariella. And now, earlier this month, an evening was held to celebrate 12 remarkable Olim who were awarded the Sylvan Adams Nefesh B'Nefesh Bonei Tzion Award. The Bonei Tzion honorees show how Aliyah enables Jews to reach their full potential, transforming their personal journeys into contributions that strengthen the nation. Let's take a look.
On December 2nd in Jerusalem, the 10th annual Sylvan Adams Nefesh B'Nefesh Bonei Tzion Award ceremony celebrated 12 remarkable Anglo-Olim, new immigrants from English-speaking countries who are shaping the State of Israel. In a night of inspiration, these individuals were honored for their outstanding contributions to Israeli society, especially during a time when resilience and unity are more crucial than ever. The Bonei Tzion Prize, established in 2013, recognizes the vital role of Olim, who have left their homes abroad to build new lives in Israel, all while making a significant impact in fields like medicine, education, culture, and global advocacy.
It's such a pleasure to be here in this evening to see these incredible people that contribute to Israel in so many routes and so important things. It's a good way to look at the positive things that happen here in Israel.
The 2024 honorees included Eilon Levy, whose role as a spokesperson during the recent war provided critical communication to the global community, and Fleur Hassan Nahum, honored for her unwavering dedication to Israel advocacy. Both of their inspiring stories highlight how Anglo immigrants are not only integrating into Israeli society, but are shaping its future through leadership, resilience, and dedication.
Immigrants, Olim, have a very important bridge-building role to play, because we understand what it is to be out of Israel. We understand what unity means in the diaspora. We're less divided because we're smaller. And that's a really important contribution that we could bring to unity the day after.
And to quote Lin-Manuel Miranda, immigrants, we get the job done, right?
These individuals exhibit the power of moving to Israel. For Jews around the world, Israel is not just a homeland. It is the place where we can truly flourish. In this land, our talents, passions, and identities are embraced, offering opportunities to contribute to a society built on shared history and purpose.
Hopefully these individuals would inspire others to follow in their footsteps, to show that potential immigrants who want to come to this Israel the sky's the limit. They could thrive and they can contribute and they can be a vibrant source of hope and optimism to this country.
For me, it's very simple. We have great people who built this country. Everyone's an Olah here. And if you could see from by diverse backgrounds, medicine, aviation, military, schooling, education, advocacy, they're here. They're really showing people what the potential is of this country and what you could do as an Olah here.
The B'nai Zion Prize reminds us that these Olim are not just building their own futures, they're building Israel's.
These are the best people in our country, people who are really helping to build the country, and we've got a lot to do. The country is very, very far from perfect. We have a lot to get accomplished, and strong-willed, talented people that we have, especially the prize recipients, we can accomplish anything.
In a time when the nation faces immense challenges, these honorees offer hope, resilience, and a vision for a stronger Israel.
And making the evening even more special, we are extremely proud of our very own Emily Schrader, who was one of the recipients. Emily, congratulations. And Blessed by Israel is a company that brings you extraordinary products handcrafted by the brave pioneers of Judea and Samaria. Every purchase supports their mission and strengthens Israel's heartland. And joining us now is Steve Werp from Blessed by Israel. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be on with you. Thank you.
So what inspired you to start Blessed by Israel, and what sort of personal experiences or values led you to focus on supporting Israeli artisans and Israeli communities?
I think it's my faith that really started this, just reading the Bible and realizing that God was doing something different in the world today, and I had a choice to be engaged or disengaged. And when, back in 2015, when the Obama administration decided to relabel all products out of Judea and Samaria and say that those were being made outside of Israel and they needed to be relabeled, it was an attempt to support BDS. And my family and I sat down and decided that we would not be like our forefathers, but we were going to make a difference. Shortly after that, I think it was Resolution 2334, stated that any Jewish presence in Judea and Samaria, what the world calls the West Bank, is actually illegal according to international law. And by that time, our family was boots on the ground in Judea and Samaria, talking to small businesses, families, going into the communities there and trying to find out ways that we could export their products to give people the opportunity to counter what the administration or what the world was doing, attempting to do.
But, Blessed by Israel also sort of goes beyond just the commerce. It promotes solidarity, promotes connections. How do you see your company sort of contributing to this?
Almost 2,000 years. It's really hard to be anti-Semitic when you walk with people, you know their families, you put a face on people. When you continually put up a straw man that you can easily tear down, it's very easy to promote anti-Semitism. When you walk with people, when you're with their families, when you're with their children, when you stand by side by side, helping them build their homes or helping them build their business, it totally changes your heart and your attitude. Because what started out as an idea that we had has changed into, these are our best friends. These are the people that we care the most about. These are the people that we walk with continually on a daily basis. We just entered into a very difficult time on October 7th. Our family was over there and we had a choice. And that was, what are you going to do? And most people were fleeing. Most people were running to safety. Our family decided to stay and help build, to walk alongside,
And, you know, we've talked about the difficult times and sort of the anti-Semitism spreading around the world. What challenges have you faced in promoting and sustaining this initiative? I mean, specifically since the start of the war.
Actually, it actually seems to be a divide. It's making people take a stand on one side or the other. And it seems to be a very, very clarifying. What do people really believe? Where is their heart at? And those that love Israel are actually stepping on the side and stepping up to the plate and making a difference. And many others are going to the radical left and are calling for the destruction. I think this is a matter of education. I think it's a matter of, it's definitely a spiritual issue where people's hearts have been turned, they've been lied to and captured by a false philosophy, worldview that allows them to be to support Hamas. How can you support Hamas? How can you support what they've done? How can you support Hezbollah or the Assad or the Iranian regime? How can you stand there silently by? And I can tell my Jewish friends that they will never, ever, ever be alone again.
A beautiful message. Steve, thank you so much for all the work that you do and for joining us today. And to our viewers, if you want to help support Israel's heartland, you can scan the QR code on the screen now. And Israelis woke up on Monday morning to a very heartwarming sight. Ribbons symbolizing the call for the release of the hostages held by Hamas painted over the skies of Israel. The symbols were made by an unknown pilot or pilots and could be seen from the north of the country to the south, over the skyscrapers in Tel Aviv and over the holy sites in Jerusalem. A truly beautiful sight to wake up to. Sirens activated throughout Tel Aviv and central Israel on Monday afternoon as millions were forced into bomb shelters. The Israel Defense Forces says the sirens were triggered by the suspected launch of a ballistic missile from Yemen. Earlier on Monday, a drone launched from Yemen was shot down over the Mediterranean Sea. And an Israeli attack on an abandoned Iranian arms depot in Syria caused a massive explosion, reportedly triggering an earthquake that registered 3.0 on the Richter scale. The continuing strikes come as the IDF digs in for the winter on the Syrian-occupied Golan, and the cabinet approves 40 million shekels for new Israeli settlements in the Golan Heights. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
Arab media is saying that an IDF airstrike on former Iranian arms depots in Tartus explosion was the strongest recorded in more than a decade and left huge warehouses in flames. The attack was part of the latest series of Israeli strikes across Syria, targeting remaining assets of Assad's army and preventing them from reaching terror groups in Syria. Meanwhile, the cabinet has unanimously voted to approve 40 million shekels to settle and double the population of the Golan Heights. About 50,000 Jews and Druze currently live on the Israeli Golan. They were not evacuated during the 13-month-long cross-border war with Hezbollah. They were frequently targeted by rocket and UAV fire, with losses sustained. After the fall of the al-Assad government, the IDF sent troops into the Syrian side of the Golan. The army has been ordered to dig in for the winter. Israel is occupying a number of Druze villages on the Syrian Golan, and leadership have reportedly appealed to Israel and asked to be annexed for their safety.
And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Sunday night that he held a warm and very important conversation with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump about a range of issues, including the Iranian threat, developments in Syria, and a recent push to secure the release of the hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. The details in the following report.
אני אומר לחיזבאללה ולאיראן בצורה שאינה משתמעת לשני פנים. כדי למנוע מכם לפגוע בנו, אנחנו נמשיך לפעול נגדכם ככל שנדרש, בכל זירה ובכל זמן.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sent a direct message to the Islamic Republic of Iran in a pre-recorded address Sunday night, in which he outlined Israel's strategy in the region. The Prime Minister said that today Israel is working forcefully in order to have security and stability on all its borders.
אין לנו עניין להתעמת עם סוריה. אנחנו נקבע את מדיניות ישראל כלפי סוריה לפי המציאות המתהווה בשטח. אני מזכיר שבמשך עשרות שנים סוריה הייתה מדינת אויב אקטיבית לישראל. היא תקפה אותנו שוב ושוב, היא אפשרה לאחרים לתקוף אותנו משטחה, היא אפשרה לאיראן לחמש את חיזבאללה דרך שטחה. כדי להבטיח שמה שהיה לא יהיה יותר, אנחנו נקטנו בשורה של פעולות עצימות בימים האחרונים. יחד עם שר הביטחון כץ, אני הנחיתי את צה"ל לסכל את האיומים הפוטנציאליים בסוריה ולמנוע השתלטות של גורמי טרור סמוך לגבולנו.
Netanyahu stressed that over the course of a few days, Israel destroyed the Assad regime's remaining military capabilities, as well as weapons supply routes through Syria to Hezbollah in Lebanon, adding that this was an additional testimony to the severe blow dealt to the entire Iranian axis.
על כל זה שוחחתי אמש, שוב עם ידידי נשיא ארצות הברית הנבחר, דונלד טראמפ. זו הייתה שיחה מאוד ידידותית, מאוד חמה ומאוד חשובה. דיברנו על הצורך להשלים את ניצחון ישראל, ודיברנו ארוכות גם על המאמצים שאנחנו עושים לשחרור חטופינו. אנחנו ממשיכים כל הזמן לפעול ללא לאות להשבתם הביתה של חטופינו, החיים והחללים כאחד.
According to Hebrew language media, the prime minister is said to have asked Trump to pressure negotiators to agree to release a higher number of hostages in any forthcoming deal. Currently, reports indicate that negotiations are ongoing, but talks are hung up over the number of hostages to be released. The prime minister said in his address that the less he discusses this issue, the better, adding that with God's help, all the hostages will return home.
And joining us now with more on the IDF strikes in Syria and more is Brigadier General Yossi Kuppelwasser. Thank you so much for joining us today.